What is up, everybody? Aslan Hajavandi here with Ira Schofel, managing editor of Warchant.com, as well as worldwide, world famous, wildly popular talk show host, Jeff Cameron, The Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock on Warchant TV, as well as 93.3 FM terrestrial radio here in Tallahassee. Thanks for being here for the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. Hopefully you know the website by now, shop.cummins.com, promo code TAILGATE, TAILG, numeral 8. By the way, guys, Jeff hardworking on Saturdays doing the pregame show. Ira hardworking at the stadium, setting up, checking out the roster, who's available. This guy hanging out at some good tailgates. Probably the best tailgate of them all. Guy's got an RV. I'm like, if you ever in the need of a new generator, let me know. And he's like, I'm good, man. I got to come in 7,000. I'm like, stop it.
Boom.
Stop it. So I got a testimony. He's like the engine in this bad boy's a Cummins too, man. These things are for real. So Corey Clark's at that tailgate too, everybody. So he wouldn't hang out with a guy that would not lead us astray. Check out shop.cummins.com, promo code tailgate. It's a Florida State guy behind all this, making it happen for you folks. So do check that out. And be sure to check out warchant.com, the ultimate Seminoles sports source. Hit the thumbs up, give us a 5-star rating review, and like the video as well. Snuggy Hill, some people call it, others Winston-Salem, the Snake Pit, taking on Wake Forest at noon on Saturday, gentlemen. Not sure how much of a test this will ultimately be, Jeff, for the number 4 Florida State Seminoles. It's been a kind of crazy season when you start off with a big-time opponent. You get a little bit of a lull maybe. Then you get a Clemson, a little bit of a lull, then a Duke. I don't know how accurate we can assess who and what this team is, but we know that in the second half, they somehow turn it on seemingly every week now since that Boston College game. Why is it that Florida State's been able to find these strong surges, you think, in the second half of football games?
I think it's probably a combination of things. This is a veteran club with a lot of guys that have played a ton of football who do not panic. And obviously, once adjustments are made, they're able to go out and execute. For the most part, you don't see anybody freelancing once those adjustments come. I actually think, in addition to the great leadership and all of that, they're very good at stopping elements of teams when they decide to singularly focus on the thing that's hurting them. And so when you watch them decide, okay, look, Duke, we know you can't throw the ball right now. We're going to stop the run. You're not going to run like you did in the first half. Good luck trying to chuck it around the lot with an injured quarterback or your backup. And you see how they adjust to that. They did a good job going back 24-7 run against Clemson to close out the game. Mm-hmm. They take things away and then challenge you to beat them another way. Great coaches do that. For years, it was always said Bill Belichick was going to make you play left-handed. He was going to make you beat them doing something you don't want to do. I really think, not to compare Adam Fuller to Bill Belichick, but I really feel like Florida State's done a good job of forcing teams to go away from how they want to beat you or how they're attacking you and then force you to do something different, all the while staying the course on offense with a veteran leader like Jordan Travis.
Ira, would you like to compare Adam Fuller to Bill Belichick?
Yeah, I was thinking, or Newt Rockne. I thought maybe the halftime speeches are more Newt Rockne. Maybe it's a combination of the two. It's been impressive, and it hasn't. I mean, the defense has definitely been a huge part of it. I think in the last 4 games now, Florida State's defense has given up 1 touchdown on offense. The only other score was on special teams, so they've obviously played really well defensively. But I think this team's done a really good job of playing good team football. Complementary football, we like to say, where I feel like the offense has kind of gotten on track. Early in games, other teams have done a really good job, I think, of controlling the ball and not letting Florida State's offense get on the field. I think some of that's been by scheme. Teams are intentionally doing things that they normally wouldn't even do because they just want to keep Florida State's offense off the field. And I think so as the game goes on, they kind of get out of that. And Florida State's offense, once they get into a rhythm, have been really exceptional. I mean, you think back to that LSU game even, but going since then, it's a lot of times the defense has played well in the second half, but the offense also is scoring on drive after drive after drive. And special teams has played well. They don't give up a lot of returns. And so now you get this game pressure on the other team where the other team feels like they've got to make something happen. And a lot of times that's when things spiral. I mean, the Duke game was a perfect example. It's, they had the lead by three points in the fourth quarter. They lose by 18. And I think what happens in these games is Florida State starts playing so well, clicking on all cylinders, and it forces the other teams into making mistakes.
Jeff, the last time things were really, really good around here, that coach got a lot of pats on the back for his second half adjustments. Are we seeing some of that from, I know we're talking about the defense, but maybe as a whole and what Mike Norvell has done? Because listen, everybody, we get it. They're 7-0. We are nitpicking, but we're not being critical of things when we talk about fourth down decision making and roster load management when it comes to moving guys in and out. But the fact that they are looking so sharp, I mean, how much of that falls on Mike Norvell and his preparation and just how detail oriented he is and the way he's had the staff kind of operating underneath him?
Well, I think Mike's a great coach. I've said that repeatedly. I think even when they weren't playing well a couple of years ago, I always thought they had really good game plans. They weren't always able to execute them. They didn't have the players. They get matched up sometimes in ways that they couldn't overcome. But I always understood what he was trying to do. You could see it. And I think Mike does a very good job of in-game adjusting. I think Mike does a very good job of kind of figuring out within the offense that he wants to run, what they can attack and adjust on the fly when teams are taking things away from him. I think obviously he's done a good job of convincing Jordan and this team that, hey, listen, play the next play. But more importantly, if they're trying to take certain things away from you, we have a lot of weapons. We have lots of ways to beat you. If you want to play in a too-high shell all night, fine. We'll check down. We'll go to the sidelines. We'll attack the middle of the field, and we'll wait for you to come up, and then we'll try to hit you with the big play. But they've done a very good job of being resilient, teaching patience, and then allowing good players to execute when they're given the opportunity after those adjustments are made. So I have nothing but high praise to say for this coaching staff, in particular Mike Norvell as a head coach and as an offensive mind.
What do you think it says, if anything, Ira, about, I don't know, maybe the confidence the team plays with in the second half because they know their coach, they trust in their coaches and the adjustments they've made here?
I think that's a big part of it, man. When you've won 13 straight games, there's something that comes along with that. This team is very confident. You don't see panic. You don't see, guys questioning things. They're pretty much going to do their job, and they believe that they're going to win as the game goes on. We were talking this week to Rodney Hill, who's just a redshirt freshman, and he talked about it. He said, man, I never thought we were going to lose that game. And he looked at us in the media and he's like, and I know you guys knew we were going to win. They have that confidence about them. I think they would have been a confident team anyway. But when you add in a Keon Coleman on the offensive side of the ball, you add in some of the guys, Braden Fisk, and some of the guys they've added on the defensive side of the ball, it's a guys who played a ton of football, guys who believe in themselves, guys who believe in this coaching staff, and they've won a lot of games now. And I think that kind of breeds itself. When you're a struggling football team, you're looking for something to go wrong. I think when we're a confident and a successful football team, you believe nothing can go wrong. And so, I think you just kind of keep riding that. The other one thing you mentioned earlier, and I think it is a big part of what they've done in the second half, is that rotation on defense. I do think that's significant because as games go on, those guys are fresh and they believe they're fresh. So I think when they go out there in the second half, they don't feel like they're playing the second half football game. They feel like they're just getting going. And I think that's part of why the defense kind of seems like it has a lot of energy in the second half.
Jeff, this weekend against Wake Forest, Florida State, I think last I checked, 20-point favorite. We'll get into just what could happen in that game to make that margin less or more. But, you certainly want to see this team continue to build and grow week by week. Jared Verse, Trey Benson, two huge pieces, two huge parts of the reason why we felt very optimistic about this team, and the nation took notice of Florida State, maybe even before their victory over LSU. Which one of those two guys, I don't want to say is it time, but it kind of feels like maybe it is time to assert themselves and play up to that ceiling of potential that we thought they had going into the season. Which of the two would I prefer get it going, or do we think we'll get it going for this game? What do you prefer? What do you prefer? Well, listen, I think this team is really, really tough when Trey Benson's, knocking guys, the guys are bouncing off of him and it's electrifying run after electrifying run. We haven't seen enough of that this year from him for a variety of reasons. The offensive line has been banged up and a little inconsistent as well. Obviously, Jared Verse can only do what opposing offenses will allow for in this sense. If they're going to get the ball out of their hands in less than 2 seconds, which most of the offenses facing Florida State have done a good job of, or even if they're going to hold the ball and they're going to chip and they're going to slide protections his way because they know what a dominant presence he is, then there's only so much he can do, and he has to play within the scheme. I think he's done a good job for the most part of remaining patient despite the fact that teams are really game planning for him. This is what happens to you when you're a good player. You go from a year ago where people thought you might be a good player, then they saw what a good player you were, and you were only playing at about 75%. Now they know he's added strength, he's added size, he was always fast. They know that he projects as a first-round pick. They see the film. They watch the way that he can set the edge. They see all the ways in which he can terrorize the team, so they game plan for you. They're not going to let you just wreak havoc.
You have to be patient and stay in control of yourself. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think Jared Verse, if they're going to ever allow him to rush the passer, meaning the opposing team is just going to have him out there on an island against their tackle, well, then Jared Verse, because he will absolutely destroy a game plan. I just don't think teams are going to do that, and that's why he's going to have to continue to be patient.
Ira, whichever you prefer, or maybe project having maybe the bigger game, bigger impact on Saturday's matchup. Would it be Trey or a guy like Jared?
Yeah, I think it might be the same question. I mean, I think same answer. I think Trey Benson may have a bigger impact on this game. I just because I don't know that the way Wake Forest plays offensively, that Jared Verse is going to be able to pin his ears back. So we'll see. But yeah, I just want to echo what Jeff was saying. I mean, if you watch these games, there are times where Jared Verse doesn't just get double teams. There's times he gets triple teams. He'll have a tight end chip him, and then he'll have a running back behind him as well. And they are doing everything. Now, what needs to happen in those situations is the rest of the defensive line has to eat. And I think we saw that this past game. Patrick Payton had a big game. Those other guys stepping up is Jared Verse is doing his job, and that's going to help him in the NFL. I know some people kind of get nervous about his sack totals. The NFL people are going to watch the film. And if he's fighting through a triple team and not giving up, but fighting and fighting and fighting, they're going to love what they see on tape of him. And he is going to get some opportunities. Trey Benson's the guy to me that when he runs with reckless abandon, he can be a difference maker. And we've seen it at times. We probably haven't seen it consistently enough. And, I just think to me, that would be a difference. They have a lot of other running backs. And this is what I said earlier this year when people wanted to see more of the other running backs. Yeah, but none of them are Trey Benson. Like his combination of size and power is a little bit different. I'm not saying it's perfect for every game or every situation, but when it's on, you can't duplicate that. So he's the guy to me that they need to see more out of.
Let's step aside real quick. When we come back, though, starting to look at the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, 4-3 on the season, only 1-3 in conference play, but maybe some quarterback magic might be in their favor. Maybe some referee home cooking. Who knows? We'll talk about all that and more coming up right after this on the Warchant Report powered by Cummins.
Check out the mobile power solutions from Cummins, a global power technology leader. Own-in portable generators are versatile portable generators for your everyday or on-the-go power requirements. Choose a model to power your lifestyle, from working on a DIY construction project, tailgating from your pickup truck, or powering your critical home appliances during Florida hurricane season and power outages. Cummins offers own-in portable generators from 2,500 to 9,500 watts. Use promo code TAILGATE, that's TAILG, numeral 8, for a 10% discount on a P2500i at shop.cummins.com. The P2500i can power you for 10 hours on only 1 gallon of fuel, and its double insulated housing keeps you humming at a peaceful 52 decibels. Get it again for 10% off using the promo code TAILGATE at shop.cummins.com.
Welcome back on into the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. Florida State taking on Wake Forest, noon ABC National Games. Big-time showcase for Florida State. Getting you ready for that game, obviously, this program, everything at warchant.com, Jeff Cameron Show, and the pregame show with Jeff and Tom. That'll go on at 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, getting you ready up until kickoff when Florida State takes on Wake Forest in Winston-Salem. Ira, Corey, they'll be up there covering that game for us. And afterwards, postgame show with Tom Lang and Gene Williams taking you into the early parts of the evening, since we were blessed with the noon game. At least I say blessed with the noon game. Nonetheless, though, Florida State taking on Wake Forest. Let's take a deeper look at the Demon Deacons, and for that, we turn to Matt LaSerre, who caught up with the voice of the Demon Deacons, Stan Cotten.
All right, Stan, let's get right into it. I had to ask this question last week against Duke, and I have to ask it again this week. Let's start off with, what's the status of the quarterback? Is Mitch Griffiths good to go? Is the second guy available, or is it going to be the third string once again?
That's a good question. The Deacs have been certainly banged up there and had to play last week without their top two quarterbacks. Both were hurt in the game against Pittsburgh. So Wake was down to Santino Marucci, a Florida kid who last year was playing safety. So, but he did enough good things, and Wake Forest kind of rallied around him on the offensive side of the ball. And, they got a win over Pittsburgh, a much needed win for Wake. They'd lost 3 consecutive games. And so, it's why you play the games, right? I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. So Wake now back above 500 at 4-3. That was Wake's first ACC win. And Mitch Griffiths, the number one quarterback, is back on the depth chart. Both he and Marucci will be getting snaps this week, and wouldn't shock me if both, both saw action on Saturday. Don't know who will start yet.
To go off of that, obviously you guys lost Sam Hartman in the portal. A.T. Perry's gone. What pieces are there on offense that could blow up and surprise us and maybe make a name for themselves against Florida State?
Yeah, well, Jamal Banks, a wide receiver, is a guy that a lot like A.T. Perry last year, guy that can go up and get balls. He runs good routes. He's got a good football IQ. He's the kind of guy that could explode in a game like this, because I think Wake's going to have to look to its playmakers to make plays, and certainly he's one of those. Keyshawn Williams had a really nice catch and run late in the game last week. Damon Claiborne, running back, had a couple of touchdowns last week. He's got a guy he's a guy with a little wiggle to him, good speed from the running back position. He can shake free. So again, it just depends on what happens at quarterback. Wake's got to be really sound on the offensive line. They've got to give the quarterback a chance to stand back there and throw the ball.
Lastly, kind of the same question as the last one, but geared towards the defensive side of the ball. Who on defense needs to step up or perform to keep this game close, or for Wake Forest to beat Florida State?
Kalen Carson is a really good corner, and I'm sure that a lot of people don't challenge him. Florida State likely will. They'll challenge anybody. He'll have to play well. I just think overall Wake's got to have a really sound defensive day, and maybe that's from all 11, right? And play really, really well on third down. When you've got a chance to get Florida State off the field, get them off the field. Wake's been playing pretty good defense, quite honestly. And Coach Clausen would be the first to admit that defensively Wake Forest is probably ahead this year of where last year he thought the defense could be. And that's a really, really good thing. And they just got to find a way to get Florida State off the field. Wake's won 3 games in a row against Florida State, but they have not faced a team that is as weaponized, if you will. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll try to put some pressure on Jordan Travis, but he's the kind of guy that can make you pay for that. He's made a living, if you will, with his legs and his arms. So it's just a tough nut to crack. But again, it's why you play it, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
Once again, that is Stan Cotten, the voice of the Demon Deacons. Thanks for coming on, man. Back to you, Aslan.
Thanks to Matt. Thanks to Stan. Thanks for y'all for still being here. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Ira, let me start with you. Upsets are rare. Like, we get it, but it happens. Top 5, top 10 teams lose seemingly every week in really weird ways. What would be the crazy stuff, or what's the least crazy scenario here, Ira, that would maybe have Florida State in a 4-quarter kind of game? Where would it be something like maybe Johnny can't go, Wake Forest has a really good cover cornerback and a guy like Kalen Carson, good safeties, maybe they trip up this passing game for long enough? Or would it have to be something like Mitch Griffiths finally tapping into his potential and playing above and out of his head for the better part of 3.5, 4 quarters?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to say this maybe because their offense has had so much success against Florida State the last couple of years, but I really think it would be on the other side of the ball. I think there's a chance that Florida State does scuffle offensively in this game. Look, they have not played great. I mean, like most teams, Florida State has not played great on the road offensively. They score 17 going into overtime against Clemson. They didn't exactly light the world on fire at Boston College. So, I think this is a situation where it's going to be some rough sledding. Wake's got a good defense. I mean, their offense is nowhere close to what it's been in the past, but their defense is solid. So I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if Florida State's kind of scuffling around a little bit. I think the defense is going to play better. I thought there were some interesting comments this week. Tatum Bethune said that last year's game was probably the worst game he played, or one of the worst games he's ever played. I think that they realized that was not an example of just Wake Forest being unbelievable, but Florida State's defense played poorly. Florida State's entire team played poorly. So I think that, I'd be surprised if the defense struggled in this game, but it wouldn't shock me if the offense did.
Jeff, I'm just doing this to protect us all from freezing cold takes and all of us sitting here and just tap dancing on Wake Forest's grave early on. We know it's college football. We know it's crazy. What's the least crazy of those scenarios? Would it be a Florida State being tripped up offensively without maybe a guy like Johnny Wilson in the lineup, or would it have to be something freakish and crazy like a quarterback who hasn't played all that great playing the game of his life?
Yeah, that one you can't predict, because I'll tell you, Ira's right. It would be much more about this defense causing problems for Florida State's offense. If their offense has a big day, that would come as a big surprise to me. They're 92nd in success rate offensively this year. If you just want a big meaty stat that kind of incorporates a lot of things, that's one that tells you they're not real good on offense. They are, however, a top 50 defense in that same stat, a success rate on defense. They do get stops. They do play well. They can cover. You were right to point out those players. So to me, they could cause a problem, I suppose. Again, the offensive line has been up and down for Florida State. So you could see a situation where maybe they struggle a little bit. If Johnny Wilson doesn't play, to your point, maybe there's some inconsistency at that other receiver spot. All of a sudden you're in a game. We get to the third quarter. Listen, all of these teams in this situation want to get Florida State into the second half and have this still be a game, because they're all overwhelmed. They're all outmatched. They know Florida State's the more talented team. But if you can get game pressure on a team who has so much more to lose, especially if they're on the road, and all of a sudden, it's not like that place is crazy energetic. You get a little nervous. God forbid you turn the ball over. You look up, it's a 7-point game going into the fourth quarter. Florida State has everything to lose. I mean, this is the team that's trying to get to the college football playoff and win the conference championship. Wake has none of those goals at this point. So they would have to do it by stymieing Florida State's offense on defense, and I think that's where they're most equipped to do so.
Don't let the ghosts of Snuggy Hill come storming out of from behind the
I can see it.
Just the scoreboard.
Yeah, we joke about it, but Florida State, this is a huge game for everybody now. When Florida State shows up, it's the Florida State of old. You want to beat them, you want to upset them. It'll be sold out. It'll only probably be 40,000, but it'll be sold out, and it'll be maybe the first hostile crowd since Death Valley, really, for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they can manage that if they find themselves in a sticky predicament in some situation. All that said, Ira, this is the last game before the first playoff poll comes out. So what does success look like for Florida State? Are there things they can do to maybe cement themselves inside that top four on the first publication of that poll? All well knowing that we've never seen the first poll hold up until the end of the month of November.
Yeah, I just don't think they have to do anything special. I think when you look at resumes, the fact that Florida State has beaten two teams that were squarely in the top 25, Duke was LSU was number 5 in the country at the time. Duke was number 16 in the country at the time. Clemson was ranked in the coaches poll. So you played 3 teams that ostensibly were ranked, and nobody else has done that. So I think your resume stacks up, especially the way LSU's been playing lately. So I think that's a positive. And I think that if you just kind of continue playing, they've been in so many national games and looked good. Even the win against Duke, they looked good in the second half of that game. So I think they passed the eyeball test. They've got some star power. I think they're solidly in the top 4. I think they may be as high as 2 or 3. Wouldn't surprise me at all, even though they didn't have a lot of success before this past season. So I don't think they have to do anything special. And in fact, I'd really hope that they're not considering that, because that's what could lead you to maybe making some mistakes and kind of getting out of yourself a little bit.
What about you, Jeff? What does success look like broadly for Florida State going into a place that's not all that intimidating against a team that's like a 3-touchdown underdog to you?
Well, play smart. I agree with Ira. You don't have to do anything special here. Again, play good defense. Give yourself a lot of at-bats, obviously, by making them punt the football. Get this into a 10, 11, 12 possession game. The good news is Wake likes to play with tempo. I don't know if they will in this game, but they don't play slow. In fact, Florida State plays pretty slow, and I would like to see them speed it up a little bit here. But it's interesting to me. This is a classic coach's cliche business trip type thing. Right. Go execute your assignment. You're physically superior here. If you go do that time and again, well, look, I get it. The other guys on scholarship too, they're going to try real hard. But if you do what you're supposed to do more often than not, you're going to give your offense a bunch of opportunities to score. I think that's really all you need to do, because over time with those at-bats, they'll pull away from this Wake Forest team that I think is going to struggle to move the ball.
And real quick on that, just because, again, part of the reason Wake had success against Florida State is usually when Florida State makes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
The trip they made up with Mackenzie Milton was a quarterback and Jordan Travis taking turns, they turned the ball over like 7 times. I mean, that's last year I thought Wake took it to Florida State at Joe Campbell Stadium. They played really well. They deserved to win that game. You can't give them the game. And if they don't do that, I think if Florida State plays cleanly, I think they'll win comfortably.
Sounds like we know where Jeff and Ira will be picking, but you'll have to wait through another commercial break, everybody, because that's the way this business works. So we'll make our picks. So will the rest of the warchant.com staff. It's all coming up right here on the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins.
Whether the power is out or you're out of pocket, be the hero with portable power from Cummins, a global power leader. Own-in power stations, perfect for mobile lifestyles, small and compact. Cummins own-in power stations provide temporary, off-the-grid power. Use it to charge your mobile devices, power your TV for the tailgate, run a fan to cool the party, or light up the after-dark celebration. Cummins offers power stations from 100 to 1,000 watts. These can be very handy during those temporary thunderstorm power outages we often get in the southeast in the afternoons. Use the promo code TAILGATE, TAILG, numeral 8, for a 10% discount at shop.cummins.com.
You didn't really have to wait through a commercial break because this is on the internet. You can just fast forward through everything. So you also don't have to pay full price when you want to have power on your side, whether that's in your RV, on the go, or at your house. Cummins, y'all. Check them out. Shop.cummins.com. They're giving you that promo code TAILGATE, TAILG, and then the numeral 8. Save 10% off numerous models of their portable power stations. I've got the big boy right here, the 1,000 portable generators, as well as an RV generator model. So check out shop.cummins.com. Again, there's a Florida State guy behind all this making it happen. He's watching right now. Hey, Andy.
I swear, Aslan, I think I envision you when I see all those generators. I envision Menlo Park. I envision you're the one guy that's got electricity. Yeah. You're the guy. If the power goes out in your neighborhood, everybody's just gonna see this glow from Aslan's house, and the whole neighborhood.
He's got us covered.
The whole neighborhood's gonna be coming over, and I'll probably be coming over too.
Kind of selfishly want that, you want to be that one dot. That's all. Hey, what's the problem, everybody? I got Cummins over here. Anyhow, no problems for Florida State. We don't anticipate this Saturday, but let's see what Gene Williams, Tom Lang, Corey Clark, Matt LaSerre, our crew over at warchant.com think about this one.
What's up, everyone? I'm here watching your favorite football team practice in the middle of the week. I think I've seen enough. I'm predicting the Noles to win. It's a road game. They're favored by 20. I feel like that's a good number. Wake can give them problems because they always do, but I just think Florida State's too talented, and also Wake's offense would have to play its best game by far to be in this game in the fourth quarter, and I don't see that happening against Florida State. So I'm going to say Noles 33, Wake Forest 14. You heard it here first, so bet accordingly.
Stop me if you've heard this one before. Florida State is playing a conference opponent that has a lackluster offense, but a pretty game defense. Sounds a lot like Virginia Tech, sounds a lot like Syracuse, and I think that Florida State's margin of victory, the final score of this game, is going to mirror those two, in that the defense isn't going to give up a ton, and the offense, even though it might have some inconsistent moments, is going to win the day and produce by the end of the four quarters. So, what does that mean? Florida State, I think, wins this ball game by a final score of 42-10. 42-10. The hill hath been taken back.
First off, I want to say I don't think Florida State's on upset watch at all, like Herb Street said earlier this week. I just don't see it happening. I think Florida State, for the first time in 3 years, will finally beat Wake Forest. There's no Sam Hartman. Obviously, the obvious big pieces are gone, but it's still the same offensive scheme, which makes it a little tricky. But I do think this defense is more well-prepared for it. And since they've seen it before, I think that will work in their favor heavily. I do think that Keon Coleman will have a big day. I would take all of his overs wherever you can find them as soon as you can. Yeah, I'll go with score prediction. We'll go 37-14.
Knock on wood, we've been pretty good on these, everybody. We've been picking winners every single week. Let's see if we can continue the good vibes here, Jeff. It's going to be a noon game. You're going to be hanging out with Tom Lang at 11 o'clock, getting everybody ready for the pregame show. Tune in for that one, Warchant TV. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up and all that kind of stuff. Noon game, ABC national telecast for Florida State. What do you think happens for the Noles taking on Wake Forest in another game that helps them cement their status here atop the ACC?
Before I pick, I want to say and add to the praise of your efforts as an ad man for Cummins, because I'll tell you, I want to buy an SUV just so I can get a Cummins and go and hang out and tailgate and meet up with Ira and Corey up in Winston-Salem. Damn it, man. That's a sell. I like it. You've got
Let's
me
do it.
sold. As far as Florida State goes, I like Florida State to take care of business. I do get nervous because of all of the ghosts, as Ira alluded to. I don't see how this happens again. When I look at Wake Forest, and I did this morning in preparation for this and also the show this afternoon, and I thought, I just don't see it. I don't know how it happens. You'd have to really be silly with the football and get some bad, breaks there, but that's kind of what happens up there sometimes. So cross your fingers, nothing weird happens. And if it doesn't, I like Florida State to win the game 38-14.
We'll take that. It's on the cover bus as well, as the kids like to say. What about you, Ira? You've been out there at practice every single day, getting a feel for things. How do you think Florida State comes out and finishes on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, like I alluded to earlier, I do think the offense is going to probably just be a little bit of just some hit or miss. I just don't feel like it's going to be a game where they're clean, moving up and down the field. I don't think they're going to cover. I think I'm going to pick Florida State 27-10. I think it's just going to feel like not that necessarily threatened at any point necessarily where you think they're going to lose, but where Wake Forest is kind of hanging around. I do think you touched on it very early about, does Wake have any kind of, do they find something offensively? I do feel like I feel like that team's going to have some confidence about themselves, even though they've struggled this year, because they have had so much success against Florida State. I think they believe Dave Clawson is the wizard, and he knows how to beat Florida State. And so I think they're going to come in with some confidence and play probably better maybe than they have at times. But I think Florida State's going to win, just not cover. So I'll go 27-10.
Nothing like a big win over Pitt to cleanse the palate, huh, Jeff? Watch out.
They're believers now, guys. They're believers now.
I like this. I'm going 37-10. 37-10. I think the offense will find its way, find its rhythm. They put up close to that against Boston College. And I think they've made progress since then. And just that offense. They don't know who the quarterback is going to be. Maybe they do, but they're playing that game. So it almost feels like they're losing when they're having to do that kind of stuff. And that offensive line, one of their tackle spots, pretty lean. I feel like Jared Verge can maybe get some numbers, get some pressure numbers, get the PFF number up there for us.
At what point will the three of us text each other when it's 10-10 midway through the third?
Stop it, Jeff. Stop.
Sorry.
Those ghosts. You got to exercise them somehow. Hopefully they'll do it noon, ABC, number 4, Florida State, taking on Wake Forest. Real quick on the way out, guys. Georgia, Florida, closer than some people think, or will that be the dagger and hopefully a long, grueling finish of the season for the Gators? Jeff.
Oh, I like Georgia to win, obviously, but I make my picks tomorrow on the show, and I have not sat down and really dove into those numbers. Obviously, without Brock Bowers, you would think this might be a little bit closer, but I still have a hard time believing that you're going to see this Florida offense with that quarterback move the ball against this Georgia defense all that consistently. So I'm nervous it'll be closer than it needs to be, but I like Georgia.
Will that game be on satellite radio for you, Ira, as you're driving out of Winston-Salem peacefully on your drive?
It probably will. And and by the time people watch this, because this will be posted on Thursday as well, you just flip on over to the wildly popular Jeff Cameron show
and I'll have that pick for you. I'll be ready to roll.
To get Jeff's pick over there. But I have a feeling Kirby's from Georgia. He hates Florida. He's hated Florida his whole life, and he tried to be recruited by Spurrier and kind of got blown off. I think for every reason you can imagine, he's going to want to put another thumping on Florida. We'll see. Florida's shown some life, but I don't believe they can hang with Georgia. I think Georgia's going to win pretty convincingly.
It's going to be another crazy weekend of college football. We love it. Can't miss it. It's always great. Check out the Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock. He'll be making his picks on his Thursday program, Friday as well. Getting you guys ready. Pre-game show again, 11 o'clock on Saturday with he and Tom Lang. Post-game show, Gene Williams, Tom Lang. Afterwards, Warchant Rap presented by Vitamin Energy. Ira and Corey on site, on ground in Winston-Salem. We got you covered. Matchup analysis is too, right there on the website, Ira?
Yep, it's already up on the site too.
Come home, everybody. Come home and drive with a Cummins engine in your car. That's a wrap for all of us. Thanks for watching. For Jeff and Ira, I'm Aslan. Thanks for watching this edition of the Warchant Report powered by Cummins.